for the month of February, I wasn't really in the mood to be reading like romance books. I do have a lot on my TBR, but lately I've just not been feeling them. And so I focused on some books that kind of got the red pink theme to go with the month, but they're more like mystery thrillers, just not straight up romances. So I thought I would talk about these three books because I have some different thoughts to share. I did read other books, so this isn't like a complete recap of February, but that's all right. So first off, I did A Special Place for Women by Laura Hankin. I read her book Happy and You Know It, which I really liked. And so I've had this book for a while, and for one of my book clubs, it was my month to pick a book. So I went with this one. It kind of got some mixed thoughts. I feel like for the most part, people liked it okay. I want to say I gave it like a 3.5, maybe 4 stars. It kind of went into a direction that wasn't like terribly shocking, but it was still just like, I don't know if it's like my favorite thing about the book. I definitely think it's a good one to discuss, and we did, you know, have some things that we wanted to go over, but basically is about this woman. Her name is Jillian, and she gets let go at a place where she's a journalist, and so she decides to kind of go undercover in this like women's group that they're supposedly like lift people up, help them with their like goals and things like that. And so, but she's heard like mixed things, like are they like a cult, like is there something secret going on? So she wants to like kind of get in there and like write this whole expose about them. I won't say Jillian was my favorite. She was okay. I mean, there's, you know, some things that she did that I'm not a huge fan of, even in the end of the book. But it was interesting to kind of see behind the scenes of this particular group and what they did. And it's like, you could do great things if you really tried. And so it was interesting. I'd be curious to read more by the author, but I do think that Happy and You Know It was one that I liked a bit more from them. I did a buddy read for The Boyfriend. This is the third Freida McFadden book, and I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. Basically, this woman, she has a friend that is murdered, and they think it was like the person that she was seeing that getting like more serious with, but this girl kind of like kept her cards close to the vest and basically didn't like share any pictures or like proper names with her friends. And so obviously it's a little, makes them a little nervous, makes kind of like it difficult to date. So yeah, so this person, I'm always bad name. Okay, so Sydney, so she's, you know, a little nervous about dating, and she meets this really nice guy, and she's just like, there's some red flags that she should probably pay attention to, but she's just not sure. But it does go back and forth in time. It goes, the modern day story is Sydney, and then in the past, you have a point of view of this kid named Tom, and it's kind of about his life as a teenager. He has like an abusive dad. He really likes the girl, kind of the high school girl, and they start seeing each other, but things are going on in their small town, and he's also wrestling with some, you know, thoughts that aren't great. So it was interesting. Everyone kind of had differing opinions on this one, but I liked it. I do want to read more by Freida. I think her books can maybe be a bit hit or miss, just from what I've read and what I've heard from other people, but I do want to read more. They read pretty quickly, and I love a good mystery. I'm usually surprised by something. And then Love Letters to a Serial Killer. I bought this last year from a local bookstore, and I liked it. It's interesting. I mean, I'll read more by the author. She has like another book coming out soon that I think sounds really, really good. But this is about Hannah, who kind of becomes obsessed with like this true crime case that's happening like in real time. Like people are finding these bodies of these women in like the same ravine, and they're like pretty sure it's the same person, so it's got to be a serial killer. So she's like, you know, making things online to like get the word out, and she just becomes like really kind of obsessed with it. But then when they arrest a guy named William, it's like things kind of start settling down, and she's just like not doing well in her life. Like she doesn't like her job, her best friend is got a boyfriend and doesn't really have time for her, she's not in a romantic relationship. So she ends up communicating with William while he's in prison, and she's not entirely sure like if he actually is a serial killer, but she like goes to Atlanta and goes to his trial and gets to know his family, and so it's definitely very interesting. there's the little twists and turns. I didn't really like have the things figured out because I didn't really think about it too deeply. I was just kind of like, let's see where this go. I think like the big twist in this one might not be very shocking to people, but that's okay. If you just kind of read it as like, let's just go along for this wild ride, it is really interesting, and it's intriguing, like her point of view, because it's not like she's like, oh, he's definitely innocent or things like that. So like the way that she thinks about it and kind of dealing with it is interesting, because you kind of understand her reasoning sometimes, and you're kind of like, okay, like I probably wouldn't do that, but I can see how people would rationalize it. So that made it kind of interesting. But there you go. These are 3 books that I read in February. I did like all of them. I think, you know, I would recommend any of them, but my favorite is probably The Boyfriend, and then Love Letters to a Serial Killer, and then A Special Place for Women.